It's live, so hello everyone. Welcome back to this is our first grand opening for the Dzogchen Meditation Community Learning Group. This class today is from Michael's Merlyn Mystery School. The only difference between this class that we're doing versus, for example, the ones that I'm teaching right now is that the only difference is I'm going to do what we call a balance between scientific thoughts and magic. This is a key thing of how do you learn in psychology in magic with a K, not with a C, and Dzogchen, any form of esoteric practices, is you have to have a clear knowledge and the right understanding. So to get started, is that let's talk about our homeworks. What did like how many of you actually did your homework today? Like anyone over here? Deanna?
I wasn't here last class.
Okay, so Elias, did you do your homework today about the Dzogchen meditation that I did? Is that you had to read at least like a short story, and you had to first off picture yourself as the main character in that story, and then after that, from that point, you came from just like experiencing that character. You also okay.
Oh, I do remember that
Okay.
homework. Yeah.
What was our homework again? I wasn't here Monday or Tuesday. Our homework was again. You were in the Merlyn Mystery School on Wednesday, dude. Is that our homework was to read a novel or even a short story, where your goal is to first picture yourself or identify yourself with a character in a story, whether it's the protagonist, the antagonist, or any of the characters in the story. And your goal is to see how did your ego or your psychology changes if you were to associate yourself with that. That's the homework. Did any of you do it?
I kinda did it. Like half did, half not.
Okay, you said, I do that all the time in books. I read, but I ponder on this. So what is it? And what about your experience, Deanna? Like, what did you notice when you start identifying yourself with the characters? Like, to the point where you say, I am that character. I am doing this and that in that novel or in that short story. What did you notice about your ego?
That, it's hard to explain because I was reading the Fallen book, and I was picturing myself as Lucinda by Lauren Kate.
Okay, can you show us and describe us the emotion coming out of it? Because that's the key thing. Knowing how did you change from being a person who you are right now versus you identifying with the character. What did you notice?
That she has absolutely no idea what she's doing, and that she was like in this reform school and everyone thought she was crazy. And
but like, what are you referring to yourself, right, as the character, right, Indiana?
I'm confused.
Uh-oh, I can't be able to hear you. Okay, so what about you, Elias? What did you notice about some of the things that you when you identify with yourself as a character, what did you notice how your emotions or how your ego changes? Okay, like explain to me who is tough Alistair, and show me like what was his characteristic, and when you associate with him, how did your emotion change? It's okay, Deanna. Come on, it's not that bad. Like as though I'm. Okay, so now you did your homework. Oh, I just hope that you guys you gotta be kidding me. Well, anyway, let me discuss to you some of my perspective, just like how you are doing a perspective. The story that I read in my short story was actually the short story was the ones who walk away from Omela. And another short story, it's called Good Country People. Is that, let me talk about the first novel, or the first short story, since a lot of people, they know who this author, her name is Ursula Gwynn. And this is how she describes the city, is that when I associate her with her as a character, going through the town of Omela as a splendid city where everything is just like nirvana. Like you have all the furniture over here, all the people interacting with one another, like so it's almost like peaceful. It's almost like a utopia. However, when she walks through all of that city and then found the basement and went inside, somehow she noticed that a child was abused in the basement to the point where she would start start begging people, I need your help. I will be good. I want to get out. However, she did not have that choice. The moment that I associate myself the uh, as the author, who is the narrator in the story, that's the moment I felt like hopeless. Because first off, I couldn't help that child. And that was the moment when I found out that my ego changed. Because normally people don't always, like, when you can see a splendid city, normally I would just say, if I were to be myself, I would be like, that sounds like a good city to live, isn't it? Everyone loves that. However, the moment I associate myself with the author and just learn to live that moment of seeing things the way it is, I found out that there's always a backstory. It's almost like as though I can learn that lesson by myself. And when I associate myself as the child, I felt portrayed by the city because everybody wants the benefit for themselves, but not for the sake of every individual. The problem of life is like that. The moment we learn to associate ourselves in different areas, that's a moment we start learning things in new perspective. Did you notice that, everyone? Like, any ideas? Where are you, Deanna? Try to unmute yourself.
Ideas about what?
I'm talking about ideas about associating your identity with a character in a story or a novel. What did you notice? Like, did you came up with the same conclusion as I am?
I noticed that it's kind of like acting. You're stepping into someone else's shoes and like feeling how they're feeling.
Mm-hmm. Anything else that you guys notice other than just simply it's like an acting game where you associate?
It's like role play.
Right, role play. But what else is in there? Like anything that is not found in class. but it is very relevant.
Oh, perspectives. Basically, it's like being a puppeteer. You can take abstracts from the creators. See
Exactly.
what see what life is like with see what life is like from their eyes.
Right. Okay. So here's what I noticed from Elias's way on how he dealt with things. When he said that he was going through the novel, he noticed that the character is a former street lord with a from rag market in the kingdom of Helena Cuffs. Is often looked at and judged as a criminal, but the change to my ego is how I notice I act like that person, also known as Handsome Alistair. I like being by back doors. I always pay attention to my surroundings and kind of associate myself with Cuffs. Because people make assumptions based on appearance and how he showed everyone how smart he was. Now, let's see what if you were to associate yourself in a different way. Try to look yourself in a different character's eye, looking at Cuff's Alistair. And what did you notice? That's the key thing about psychoanalysis or even play therapy, is that the goal is to actually learn to associate yourself as one particular aspect of your personality and seeing it as the way it is. And when you learn to see it the way it is, you will understand it and know how to deal with it. That's the key thing. Now, going straight to what the lesson is all about, is that right now, we're going into what we call the alchemy of consciousness. Now, this is a very unique topic. Is that instead of going into our minds in a medical perspective, we're going to take the scientific approach on seeing the mind not as a bunch of medical disorders, but instead just as a chemistry, as a substance that has been going through so many different experiences to the point where it gets to the end product where the environment shaped it the way it is. That's what alchemy is. So to give you a quick little background on what alchemy, on what psychoanalysis or the history of the mind works, I will share with you some of the concepts about psychotherapy. This is my textbook. Is that in Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud's theory of psychoanalysis, is that first off, let me get my note real quick, is that psychoanalysis is basically what we call the study of man. It's the first and basic form of psychology. Is that first off, in this theory, is that we have what we call an ego, superego, and ID or identity. The key thing about what driven this formation of the ego or the mind is that first off, it is to defend oneself. It's to experience pleasure, sexual pleasure, to be more exact. That's Freud's theory. Jung's theory and Adler's theory takes on a little different turn on this one. Is that first off, Jung's theory and Adler, we are more not about the ego only. That we are interconnected to everybody else. It's that it's not about ourselves, our urges all the time. The problem with some of these theories is that it's based off the biological mindset of the human mind. Oh, okay. So you asked me, Elias, that so you're telling me ego is connected to sex. Well, it is. on its basic sense. Ego is actually driven by the desire for survival. That's why sex is there. That's what Sigmund Freud stated in his theories. Like, does anyone by far get what I'm talking about right now, or do I need to clarify anything? Okay. So that is what Carl Jung's psychology is, and even psychoanalysis. However, as we get to the point where now we're moving up to the next form of therapy, it's called Gestalt or play therapy. This is what the homework that we did like from the last time works, is that you learn to associate yourself with different parts of yourselves, parts of your personalities. However, the goal is to be able to see how it works and learn how to deal with it, which is very good. However, there's a problem. The problem is that it seeks to alleviate the symptom. It seeks to see the mind as a problem, which is not. Now, going further into what we call cognitive behavioral therapy, this is our most recent, one of our most popular and most recent form of therapy. This, almost like life coaching, where it's like setting a goal. First, I have a goal right here. This is my mind right now. And my goal is to be right here. How do I go from here to here? That's how it is in a nutshell. Is that you have to understand, okay, I'm made out of this and that and that. Probe my thoughts into the past. How do I work? And then how do I propel myself to here? That is what cognitive behavioral therapy is. However, there's a problem with that therapy, is that if one were to look at therapy in such a way that it's all about accomplishing a goal, it's all about survival. If one were to just constantly just think our minds almost like as though we have a problem, then it will remain as a problem. Because first off, it's just different ways of how to work with the mind. If one were to see each and every one of our aspects as a problem and we try to work it out, we will always have that fear that that problem will resurface. Like, for example, alcoholics. Most alcohol addictions, it comes out from something else. However, an addiction is not by itself a medical disorder. The problem is when psychology got to that point and seeing it as a permanent incure. And let me read Joel's comment. It says that taking abstracts from one's perspective to adapt into your own, correct? That is exactly what we're talking about here, Joel, is that we're taking the abstract of what we want to associate and taking it as our own. That's how our mind works. However, that's like, does anyone here notice like any other problems other than the fact that it's seeing the mind as a medical disorder? Like, feel free to unmute yourself and tell me about it. Come on, Deanna. Come on, unmute yourself. So I'll give you guys a couple minutes to actually.
Okay, what?
All right, I want to ask you. Did you? What else did you notice about your mind when you, like, for example, practice meditation or any form of practices? Did you notice that some aspect of yourself surface while others fall? But did you call that a disorder? And help me point out some of the flaws from the psychological mindset, like the scientists, like how can they like for example, Sigmund Freud. Why and like, how is it a problem? For what I read to you so far.
I think it's a problem because it's not really a problem because like it's a mindset. It's not a problem, it's a mindset. And it's not a problem unless you think it's a problem.
Okay, so let's get a little deeper on that. How do you define which aspect of your mind is a problem? How is it a problem? How is it a medical problem versus what we call a conditioning problem?
Okay, so
Because I know you have some kind of, because I know that you have a history of being diagnosed with all sorts of mental disorders, and I knew you're going to have an answer in that.
okay. So like correct me if I'm giving the wrong example, but like for example, like being alone, like
Okay. It's okay, sweetheart. Just describe it. The audience won't mind.
I don't know if this is the right example, but like I don't know if anyone heard what the old days were like when our parents were growing up, but like back in those days when you were alone, it was called being a loner. Now, apparently, when you're alone without friends, it's now called depression. Like,
Okay. So, come on. Continue on. So, what about suicide? Let's take that to a little bit further, like to the extremes.
okay.
Like, describe the mindset of what suicide is, of a person who is about to commit suicide.
It's basically the thought and wish of death because, like, you just feel like there's no hope from you for you from there.
Okay. So, like, let me try to picture out what you're trying to say here. Are you trying to tell me that what starts out as, give me one moment. All right, so let me picture this out. First off, you have what we call a person who is alone, who usually might have like some friends, I don't know.
Yeah.
Then that person, when he somehow does not have the ability to identify with other people, he somehow senses loneliness. It's a basic form of what is something very normal. Depression takes on a much deeper form. Major depression takes on the fact that you were so isolated from human beings and that it influences how you eat and all this stuff. It got to the point where it became what we call it becomes a medical disorder, which means lack of whatever it is, or it could mean you took it a little too far. And then suicide is on the other extreme where your depression went so bad it's about to snap. Like, does anyone see the progression here? Where what started out as loneliness, it becomes now depression, now it becomes suicide, and sometimes it might go back, way out there, back to being not a loner again. Okay, let me, okay, so like I said, I notice when I get into deep meditation, I often imagine myself laying down in a pool underwater staring up, and I feel random thoughts will float across the surface of my mind. I often imagine a pool cleaner to represent me cleaning my mind to reach the next point. Well, what did you notice? Did you notice that when you associate yourself, you become that way, right? And okay, to answer Elias's question, why are you talking about depression? First off, depression is very common. Second of all, it's somewhat what we call a form of alchemy inside your body, which we will get into next. And third of all, it does have a major effect. Many people were diagnosed with depression. And fourth of all, is a lot of people will be spending, there will be more people coming in with depression. Now, let me go into a news perspective on what alchemy is. This right here is a diagram of the Kabbalah. Now, this is a little different. First off, when you look at the Kabbalah, you notice that there's 5 sephirots right here. These stuff are what we call levels of existence. First off, we have what we call the kingdom. In alchemy, this is where the earth, air, fire, and water is right here. This is where everything manifests. And then on the next level, which is sacral, this is about whenever you go, like for example, this is going beyond the 5 senses, where you feel heat, you be able to sense out the intentions of others, where you can be able to sense out emotions and read people's thoughts. That's the second right here. Third level is what we call the I. This is what we call I can be. This is where the moment where you say, I can become this, I can become that. That is the third one right here. Fourth is the art. Now this one is a tricky one. That's when you first see things as black and white. There's some polar opposites. When you look at, for example, a person, when you look at this light, for example, let's take this light. Blech. First off, what do you see? Obviously light. However, what do you notice about my background? It's dark. But that means that our minds tend to divide things between light and dark. However, does it always mean that there is light or there is darkness as a separate entity of its own? No. It just means the presence of something else, the arousal of something else that is there, giving out the energy so that everything else can be seen, which we got to the crown right here. Now that is the basis of what Kabbalah is. Now, what does it have anything to do with Dzogchen, psychology, or even biology? Here's what I'm going to teach you. Is that, first off, let me read to you what this essay said. Is that the purpose of this scheme is to show that creation occurs in increasingly dense levels of energy matter, from the most subtle, or fire, to the most dense, or earth. Within this context of increasing density, there also arises a series of 10 planes, or levels of consciousness, which combines with energy matter, known as sephirots. Or you can call it the ways to work the states of the mind, or consciousness, or spheres of being. They occur in the pattern of unity, reflection, polarity, reflection, polarity, unity, reflection, polarity, unity, and finally materialization. This basic idea of unity, polarity, and reharmonizing is the basis of Kabbalistic and alchemical practices and derived from the observation of matter, of nature. Now, each work is a reflection of a denser or more subtle degree than the one before it. Scrolling a little further, let's let's talk about what the Kundalini is. Kundalini basically is what we call the spirit. Just like how everything in the universe, in alchemy, we have what we call earth, which is the densest matter, which represents the densest part of our consciousness, which is shadow. Water represents our emotions. It's about rushing, about coming right at your face. That or being subtle. But fire is the most lightest element, and that's our consciousness as I'm talking to you right now. This is fire. Air, on the other hand, that means it's something that I am swiftly and chaotically thinking in my head, but no one knows that I'm there because I'm invisible. I'm very invisible. I can't be seen, but I can only be felt through your senses, other than your eyes. Your I think your nose can be felt. That wouldn't be bad. But anyway, that is what it is. Now let me show you this next presentation. This is from psychology. We have in psychology, like we have what we call.
Excuse me, Andy. When you were mentioning about the shadow, what do you mean?
The shadow, that means, good question. The shadow is something that you kept hidden inside yourself that you know that you're not willing to face. It's the unknown, the unconscious, that no one, even yourself, is willing to face it. It can be both conscious or it can be at any of these ranges. That's the duality, the da'ars that I'm talking about. So do you understand?
Yes, perfectly, thanks.
All right, and the last element, this is ether. Ether is what we call the element of life, where in ancient philosophy or even ancient alchemy, it's like when you look at a plant, when you look at a human, did you notice that when I touched you, you were not just simply sensing fire coming out of me. It was ether. Because otherwise, if you don't have ether, you only have earth, air, or anything else, you notice how that organism will fail to exist. Do you notice? Like, just look at a dead organism for me. What do you notice? It's just only a flesh. With, like, with totally ribs and everything, that's earth. We have still water inside of us when we're dying. We still have air. We still have a little bit of fire, but not as much. But what we lack is ether, which is life energy. And sometimes we call that electricity in science, because that's what gives us life. Now, what are the 5 personality traits, and how is that it's so related to alchemy? Let me first introduce the audience. What the 5 factors are. So when you are looking at the 5 factors, you have 5 aspects of your personality. The first one, openness to experience. It's an appreciation for art, emotion, adventure, unusual ideas, curiosity, variety of experience. It reflects a degree of intellectual curiosity, creativity, preference for novelty, and it's called an intellect, other than openness to experience. That is representing by fire. Because when you're open to something, did you know that when you let a fire burn on one area, if it's that open, it can spread to other areas also. It can burn down an entire forest just by that one spark of fire. That's what openness to experience is, on its purest essence. It's that consciousness there is efficient, organized, versus easygoing and carelessness. A tendency to be organized and dependable, show self-discipline, act dutifully, and for achievement, and prefer planned rather than spontaneous behavior. This is Earth. Did you guys notice that when you talk to a person who always plan out, they always organize things into like a structure like this? Did you notice how like it's so hard to change their plans? Like you can try to say whatever you want with them, they're not going to listen. That's conscientiousness. Now this is getting a little interesting. Extroversion. This is introvert, outgoing, energetic. Introvert is solitary, reserved versus outgoing or energetic. Energy, positive emotions, urgency, assertiveness, sociability, and the tendency to seek stimulation in the company of others. This is what we call, this is wind, air. Did you notice that when you talk to an extrovert, you notice how their mind is always fleeing from one side to the other and always talking to different people, right? What do you notice about a person without that trait? Any ideas?
Can I chime in?
Sure.
All right. I noticed that people who aren't introvert, like who aren't oh my gosh, excuse my cat got my tongue parts. I noticed with extroverts that, like, your question was, what's the difference between an extrovert and an introvert, right?
Yes.
Extroverts get energy from being around others. Introverts, however, get energy by being alone.
Air energy by being alone. Okay, so describe it, like, just elaborate for us. What does it mean when you are going through, when you're gaining more air energy through just being alone? What do you mean by that? Because the thing is that, first off, not many people, like for example, if someone were to be all windy, you can notice that they're all over the place. Less wind means, that just means the wind isn't as aggressive. And when you talk to me, you notice that I notice that you're not all over the place. Do you notice?
No, I didn't.
That's what an introvert is. It's basically a person who likes to be alone, likes to settle, because he doesn't have enough wind. That is what it is. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. Okay, what?
It makes sense now.
All right. So the next element, the big 5 factors. This is in psychology. We have tests for personalities like this. Is agreeableness. This is friendly and compassionate versus analytical and detached. Who in here ever has a friendly and a compassionate person? What do you notice? Like, what was their state of emotion?
That they're always at peace, and that they have, like, they enjoy, like, some part of them, or like all of them enjoy life, and that they're very lively.
Exactly. And who else also noticed that? Because here's the funny thing. Those who have a lot more compassion, more agreeableness, you notice that they almost feel like as though they're like a still water, where you can be able to look into the water and you see a reflection of yourself and everything else around you, or even see the depths if they have a clarity in there, when they look with clarity. It's a tendency to be compassionate and cooperative rather than suspicious and antagonistic towards others. It's a measure of one's trust and helpful nature. And it's also whether a person is generally well-tempered or not. Okay, Joel, you said, who can see everything that is going on, feel and concentrate on what's going on through the chaos of collaboration? At least one way to look at it. I like these aspects that are being said. Great. And now, did you notice is that the reason why I'm bringing you this It's not because I'm just trying to say that that alchemy and psychology are together. They are one thing. However, it's just a different way to look at it. Now, let's get to the final things before we start the meditation. It's neuroticism. This is sensitive, nervous versus secure confidence. This is Easter. How many of you ever had a moment where you feel like you're going to die? Like to the point where you're like, oh my God, I'm not going to get near you because I thought I'm going to die. Or you get nervous.
I'd say something, but it'd be probably totally wrong. I'd say you, but just kidding. Yeah.
So, like, describe to me, what was your sensation? It doesn't matter who it is, what it is, or how it's triggered. Help me notice something. What did you notice inside your body when you were feeling nervous?
That, like, I felt hot. And, like, I couldn't think straight.
Okay. But also, did you notice that you're also losing your life energy in there? You feel like something's leaving you, right? As you're getting angry, your anxiety, your depression, and vulnerability. Think about it. When you're depressed, first off, you don't think clearly. But second of all, did you notice that your hormones start kicking in? And the more it kicks in, the more you feel like you're going to overwhelm yourself. Anyone? I guess no one. Or let me see. Okay. So let me explain to you what neuroticism is. It's a tendency. It's just a tendency to experience unpleasant emotions easily, such as anger, anxiety, depression, and vulnerability. It refers to the degree of emotional stability, impulse control. Sometimes it's called by the low pole emotion, or I just call it the EQ, emotional intelligence. Because a lot of people, when you have a high EQ, did you notice that you have a better control over your emotions? You have a high tolerance, stress tolerance. That is what neuroticism is. And how is it related to alchemy? Is that when you're talking to a person who has a lot of life force in there, it's not easy to knock that person out. It's not easy to kill that person. That's the key thing. So why am I bringing this in? About alchemy, about psychology, especially like the theories of like Adler's theory, Gestalt theory, all those stuff, is that first off, the mind works almost like an alchemy. It's like chemical. Just think of it as a chemical. That the reason why people say that they have personality disorder is not because they have a genetic disorder called personality disorder like antisocial, borderline, or any of the narcissism. That is not true. The key thing about those who have borderline personality disorder is that it's gone to the point of extreme. That's the best way we can put it. It's that when you put yourself in a condition where you have no other way, it begins to harden that substance of you, and it becomes almost like as though you couldn't be able to change it. However, it's still you, but it just changed according to the substance there that was exposed. That's all that is. Same thing with bipolar. Even okay, so when it comes to bipolar, or even depression, schizophrenia, or anything, same thing. It follows the same process. It's when you first are a baby, you're a pure metal. in some way or the other. However, the moment that you became, the moment you walk across life story, like for example, you experience abuse, for example, depending on how hard you got hit by that abuse, by, I don't know what type of element is that, because it can come in many different forms. It can shape you into, like for example, into different ways. It makes you behave in certain ways is because of how you are. However, does that mean that I had to go back to the past of how you were, who you are, to actually turn you back into who you normally you're supposed to be? No. In alchemy, here's another way. If I were to put you as a borderline personality disorder with another person who has a totally different personality from you or is healthy, you might notice that there's going to be a reaction. Over time, that reaction gets to the point where it became a new substance that can be helpful to the society. But it does not mean that you're a disorder. It just means the way how you reacted is not helpful to the society that you're living in right now. That is what psychology aims to do. So for this first activity, I want you guys to take what we learned today, and we're going to play a little game. This game is what we call Shadow. To those of you who are in this chat room, I want you to, first off, have yourself sitting right here, and your shadow self sitting next to you. And that first off, you play your shadow self, and I'm going to interact and like ask you questions. So who's up for the challenge first? Deanna?
Okay, sure.
Or anyone else? Who has a raise of hand? Okay. All right, Elias. First off, I want you to, Deanna, do you really want to do this first, or do you want Elias to go first?
To me, it doesn't matter. It's c'est la vie.
Okay. So first off, I want you to introduce yourself and your shadow. That means your shadow's name. And
Okay.
the first thing is that you will speak in the perspective of your shadow, of like your darkest self. Like, for example, are you a person, like your hidden self? Is it angry? Is it murderous? Or is it violent? Just as we're asking you questions, try to answer it as fully as possible. That's how you do it, Elias. So, Deanna, you're starting first.
Okie dokie.
All right. Like, speak in the tone of your shadow. Like, represent it as exactly as possible. I want to hear this.
Okay, my shadow name is Lucinda. Wait, Andy, what do you want me to do?
Just introduce whatever you want the audience to know about yourself as a shadow. Use I in there. Associate yourself with that shadow.
Well, okay, I got the name wrong according to her, so I'm Diona. And I basically...
Can you speak a little louder? I can't hear you. Diona.
Okay. I basically, wait, Andy, is this like what we did that last time? Like
yes.
when we were, okay, now I know what I'm doing. I forgot. Okay. Let's let someone else start. because I don't know how to tap into my shadow on demand. So how about you just come back to me after?
Okay, so what about you, Elias? Like, speak to me in your shadow as a shadow talking to me. Introduce yourself real quick. Who are you? What's your name? What are you here for? What do you want me to know about you? Elias, are you there? Hmm. Elias.
Okay, so since he's not going, let's have
Okay.
Woody.
Okay. He finally got it. He said, I am Harvest. I basically represent my dark side of things. What I'm here is going deeper down the rabbit hole. Like, feel the tone out of it. Use your intuition and listen to this. Geez, Bart Allen, give me a break. Okay. It's okay, Harvest. I know. All right. So he said, "I'm here is what I'm here is for is going down deeper down the rabbit hole." So, any of you um, so far have any questions for him? Deanna?
What's your worst quality?
Harvest, what is your worst quality? Okay. Come on, Harvest. I'm still my worst quality. Yes, your worst quality, Harvest. Impatience. Okay. Okay, Harvest, I have a question for you. Can you explain to me your name? Why is it Harvest? Or what is the meaning of your name? Okay. I know it's easy. Okay, so I had to skip you for a while, Harvest, because seriously, like, okay, now we find it. It's how I see the world myself. So it's a night. Your favorite moon is the harvest moon. That's a little confusing. Okay. All right. So, any other questions for harvest? Okay, a strong unearthly connection to the moon. That's why you say it's a. Okay.
Scan system hai cái này đặt tên thay cái folder đó.
Okay, so anyone else have questions for him? All right. So for what did you guys notice about harvest so far? Like Deanna, do you have any idea?
I don't know how to answer that. It sounds like you're asking more of opinion than a fact.
Like, I mean, like some of the elements about about some of his imbalances or his alchemy. What did you notice when when he talked to you in that tone? Okay, Joel also. I'll do Joel next, and then after
Excuse
that,
me, by the way, just so you stop pronouncing his name wrong, his name's Joel.
Joel. Okay, so
Yeah.
so here's what I noticed about you, Harvest. The reason why. Let me reread what you wrote right here. Okay, I see why you're called Harvest. The reason why is because what the vibration that you're sensing, I sense an alchemy more of earth in there. You were very grounded in your own ways. However, you got to the point where you were so stuck into that way that you can't even get out. So when your emotions got into the way, because like for example, you can base off your thinking on emotions also, because it was so stormy that somehow you were spiraling out of control. It's almost like as though you're creating a mudslide here. That's why you're called harvest. But however, what it is like a, what do you call it? A euphemism of something far greater. Like, does anyone notice that? Like, what about you, Deanna?
About me what?
About harvest, the things that he said.
Well, if you didn't steal half my lines, I would have something to say. I have to agree that he's very grounded. But I feel like I have no room to say because I don't want to judge. And you're asking for my opinion about his shadow self, when what really matters is his own opinion about his shadow self. So I feel like I have, like, even though you want my opinion, I feel like it's not my place to give it.
Okay. Oh, Okay, let me do briefly what Joel is. He gave a very good description here.
Stop pronouncing his name wrong. It's Joel.
Okay, sorry. Okay, Joel. Before I get to you, Deanna, because you are on this call, you have a speaker, so therefore you should be able to. I should be able to hear you. Joel said, "My shadow might be saying something like, I need to be alone. I won't go. My name is nameless. The symbolic idea that the feeling of worthlessness is how I see myself. Even looking back at myself shows how broken I am. Literally a reflection of darkness. But also a reflection of what I came to be, from what the shadow was. I am heavy, burden of darkness. What it says is shown, but because of how it is burdened, it brings strength upon embracing who was. So, Joel, what do you mean by embracing who was? Because when you say that, do you mean that you are latching onto something? But for now,
Excuse me, on his behalf, it keeps freezing a lot. So, like, he's telling me over Skype that it keeps freezing. But
it's okay.
Yeah.
So, like, same thing. Did you guys notice how heavy a burden of darkness might be saying that I need to be alone. I won't go. It's nameless. Symbolic idea that worthlessness is how I see myself and how broken I am. Literally a reflection of darkness. What did you notice in there? Do you sense a lack of self-esteem, but also too much groundedness in that lack of self-esteem? Oh, okay. Seeing what behind me. So somewhat your shadow is almost like a past thing, where the goal of the shadow is almost like as though you are, first off, you're going through, okay, it's almost like two completely different people. So what did you guys notice that Joel, I don't know who he is, but what I do know is
he's
that
my friend.
But like his personality I'm talking about.
Oh.
Like, did you notice that his shadow side is like one side, he's like all grounded into his own perception, while the other side, he's like lacking self-esteem. Just like Elias, his shadow is harvest. So any ideas? Because the goal here is to try to analyze how certain aspects of yourself, even your own shadow side, it's almost like as though it's almost like it has its own perspective of things. But they are pretty much almost like the same. Like Does anyone gain so far? All right, so now, Deanna, you're next.
Alrighty, it's funny when you said that. Joel just told me that I'm so innocent, supposedly. Okay, so shadow self. I'm trying to like sink myself into this.
And also, since you're on a video call, can you please show yourself to me as the shadow self?
I don't know if you call pajamas decently dressed.
It's okay.
Whatever, I'm your girlfriend anyway, so. Okay. So, how about you ask me first and I'll answer by your questions.
Okay, who are you? Introduce me. Who are you?
I'm Diana.
Hey, Diana, can you explain to me about you? Describe me. Who are you? Like, what was it that you want to tell me today?
I'm basically someone who protects Deanna, and I think she's a complete idiot because half the time she does stuff without thinking, and she's like, oh, I think I'll just do this, this, and this today, when to be honest, I think her morals are all wrong because I don't believe in caring and taking care of others. However, she, is the exact opposite of me, which her and I often have conflicts with each other.
Okay. So, can you explain to me, Diane, can you, Diana, you mean? Is that your name?
Yes, Diana.
Can you explain to me, what reason are you identifying yourself as Diana, but not Diane or any other names? What does it mean?
Because, well, it's like that because the first part is die, and that's all I want to see every idiot do is die. And as far as the last part, the Ona, Deanna wanted to make it slightly different from hers, but not by much.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else?
What is your what is your greatest weakness?
I wish I could say Deanna, but she's an idiot to herself and others. So I would say basically anyone who cares about Deanna and anyone who takes care of her.
Okay. So, anything else? Because here's the funny thing, Diana. You keep telling me that you want people to die, and I sense that you're very angry. And that somehow the last time I talked to you, you were a lot angrier with Deanna because she kept you in secret. So can you explain to me, how do you get your existence? Because can't you guys coexist with one another?
Well, I've always been with her. Deanna, I'm like the darker side of Deanna, like way darker. Like, and my anger has never changed. In fact, she's actually been misdiagnosed with an anger issue due to me. Because when you get me angry, it's out of control angry.
Okay.
And sometimes when Deanna gets too overwhelmed and too worked up about things, she can't stand doing it herself. So then I take over and I do it for her.
Okay. So, for now, I'll watch this stuff real quick. And so far, does anyone else have questions for Diana? I'll be right back.
Or I could just creep everyone out, just kidding. Or am I?
So any questions yet? Anyone?
Not a bit, sadly.
Okay, so now Deanna, when you listened to that shadow side, what did you notice about how your shadow works according to the alchemy of what I taught you, using just the big five theories, and even like the science of alchemy? What did you notice when you listened to yourself, your shadow self?
That's really pissed at me, and that it has a lot of issues with me.
Okay, what about you, Elias? I'll wait for him. But on my end, here's what I noticed about your shadow, is that the shadow somewhat you were right, it was angry. However, the problem is that it was overwhelmingly angry, to the point where this so-called, let me see here, it's so-called consistent consciousness, it's gone out of control. But also, so-called the energetic side of you. Did you notice how your darker side is very aggressive, right? But also it's very outgoing. It's not willing to be in solitude. It's willing to destroy and willing to reach out and just burn out everything else. Like, that was what I noticed in uh, in Diona's case. Like everyone, is that what ended up happening is that it explains how, although her fire wasn't as big, it wasn't as curious. However, her wind was so devastating, it got to the point where it almost burned out everyone else. It works like a fire. Oh, and by the way, Diana, I also think someone.
Yes.
Okay. Elias has a question. He wants to ask Diana where from.
What?
Where does all your anger come from? Diana?
People who hurt others intentionally on purpose. Where, like, Deanna is so foolish enough to walk into traps, manipulation, tricks, bullies. She's, like, so prone to, like, walk into everything so blindly and just give it a chance. And my anger comes from whenever she gets hurt. Because I always like to believe that she knows better, but no, she has to be stupid.
Okay. So that, another thing. That's Deanna. Are you still there?
Yes.
I don't want to talk to your shadow right now.
Okay.
All right, so,
Hold on. I gotta go back into my own character.
okay. So, did you notice how Diana is this being who is like somehow? She says that you are not doing anything. That you're not reaching out as much, while the other side is like want to reach out more. And although its fire isn't as good, it's but however, that wind was strong enough to actually blow that fire around and burn everyone else. Did you notice?
No.
Although it's earth, like so far, the earth element of the Diona is similar to you. Her water is about to dry up. Her ether, on the other hand, is similar to you. Did you notice? How she has a very high resilience. That's why she can be able to take down anyone. Same thing with you, Elias, and even you, Joel, is that, except for you, Joel, I don't think you have that, your shadow isn't that resilient emotionally yet. That is what I noticed. So, going back to what I'm talking about, shadows, about any of that, how do you practice a meditation in such a way that works with your shadows?
Easy, I don't. I keep it hidden.
Okay. The problem is we keep it hidden. Exactly. The problem is if we keep hating something too many times, it will come into existence. That is the key thing of how do you destroy a shadow, is learning to make it conscious. And of course, I can be able to let you watch some of the videos that I recommend you later on, but for now, we're going to do what we call the Dzogchen meditation.
You better not send everyone to limbo again. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
You idiot. And you do realize I don't mean that you're an idiot. I just say that out of affection.
All right. Close your eyes and begin to breathe slowly and deeply. With each breath, let your body relax and soften. Take care that your spine is straight. This will allow all your energy to flow and settle. As you breathe in, you feel the tides of your ocean, the ocean that you're sitting on top of. That represents the emotion from deep inside of you. It represents the third eye. As it breathes in, the tides come in, and as you breathe out, the tides goes back out. Knowing that this ocean represents your free will to be compassionate to all beings, that you remember the promise that you create to help all of them. Begin the ocean breath. And now, take 3 long deep breaths. On the third inhalation, hold your breath in and begin warrior's breath. Outstretch your arm to the sky and inhale as deep as possible. And exhale as rapidly, using your abdomen as the bellow. And now relax. Relax your breath. Thôi có tình trạng thế giới à? And notice the sensation in your body. Notice all the energy spiraling through your brain, massaging and dissolving all tensions. As the energy moves from your crown, your hippocampus, to your pineal gland, the third eye, you experience the waves of emotions of the ocean spiraling through your third eye. As this ocean is twirling and creating mudslides, twirling to the point it causes causes wind sprouts, water sprouts to through your mind. You experience a vibratory syllable Om. As the energy travels down to your throat chakra and to your heart, you experience the radiating green light of ether radiating out from your heart in a formation of a teacher. This teacher is a symbolism of true bliss, of everything that is beyond words. And from your right, you have the earth part of yourself, which is a very grounding element. However, is a very powerful element with so much groundedness, but with enormous power. And on to your left, you have the wind energy, the part of yourself that is very stormy, creating hurricanes at all directions with powerful intentions, with strong drive to blast at any given place, capable of creating tornadoes and massive cyclones. As you explore yourself, you notice that your teacher also has the same element as you. And as the energy is placed within your heart, you experience the seed syllable and become the syllable Om. As you are experiencing the syllable home, you also notice that the right side of you, the earth element, is also vibrating with power like an earthquake, rumbling, the winds making dust storms and shaking the water, forming tsunamis. As you experience this, you also felt the rattling, vibratory energy of the syllable Ra. As you simultaneously experience the power of nature from your heart, the power of earth as it rumbles in earthquakes on your right, you simultaneously sense the wind energy on your left. The aspect of you that wants to explode and move at all directions, moving swiftly like a hurricane. As you are experiencing this, you be the syllable Za. The energy is now moving from your heart down to your solar plex, the sacral, and now to the root chakra. In the root chakra, you sense of radiating energy of the sun as a form of a snake that rattles like a rattlesnake. But at the same time, it's like a little masa bird. It's an egg with four petal lotus seated at the bottom of your spine. As you feel the energy going down to the area, you experience the syllable lam. As you simultaneously experience all these syllables along with your teacher, as all his body parts, his or her body parts, is rattling with joy and vibrating with light. You also notice that you grew some roots coming from your bottom, and you experience yourself flowing your energy like a toroidal field as the energy circulates from the root chakra back to your crown, all the way down to your heart chakra, and back down to the root again. You also notice you're purifying Mother Earth from beneath you, as she also feels light. As you touch her core, and the energy from above flows down to you. You also experience a shower of light comes down towards you. As the energy fills you, you radiating out light. Also, as your teacher dissolves into you, into white, colorless rainbow light, and Mother Earth becomes you, and that you and Mother Earth are one. That your body, the Kundalini, represents her core. Your earth becomes her earth, her land. Your third eye water becomes the ocean. The wind becomes the clouds. And the heart of it all, the ether becomes the life of the universe, the life of Earth. You also know that you become the sun. As you radiate out light towards the infinite possibility of darkness. Among those darkness, you remember your past life, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncle, yourself, everyone, from both within, without, around, on top, below, and all across space. That everything is within your reach. But most importantly, to those that don't know you, those you love, and those that you hate. Upon knowing that they're living in that darkness, you say to them, "Oh, my dearest brothers and sisters, my dearest sons and daughters, I have learned to be the light. Thank you for teaching me to be the light. For it is thee who taught me to become a star. Now that I am, may you come to the light and be a star with me." As they move all into the light, and now became a star in the night sky. The whole universe is lit. With a presence so powerful, and that presence is you. However, as you expand your consciousness beyond the limitations, and as you continue to expand, you notice that within the darkest avenues of the infinite possibilities, you see a dying person. That person,
How are you in?
that person represents the part of each and every one of us, the shadow. His own flesh is dying and rotting like rotten flesh as maggots festered on the flesh, eating him or her away. But as his elements collapses, his soul wanders in that dark possibility with nowhere to turn, nowhere to hide. Upon knowing the immeasurable, unimmeasurable suffering of that person. You let out a cry to this person as you said these words out loud. Hey, noble one, listen without wavering. On the seventh day, a five-colored rainbow-striped light will dawn to purify your instincts by immersion in reality. At that time, from the pure land of the angels, the scientist deity host will come to escort you. In the center of a mandala, wrapped in the rainbows and lights, the unexcelled scientist of evolutionary development, Padmanabhara, will arise. His body, lustrous with the five colors. His consort, the female energy, the red angel wound round his body, performing the dance of chopper and blood-filled skull ball, striking the gazing posture towards the sky. A noble one from the east of that mandala, the sage contemplating scientist will arise, white, his expression smiling, his consort, the white angel, will round his body, performing the chopper and skull bowl dance, and the gesture of gazing into space. From the south of that mandala, the lifespan master scientist will arise, yellow with beautiful science. His consort, the yellow angel, wound around his body, performing the chopper and skull bone dance, and the gesture of gazing into space. From the west of that mandala, the great seal scientist will arise, red with a smiling expression. His consort, the red angel, wound around his body, performing the chopper and skull bowl dance, and the gesture of gazing into space. From the north of that mandala, the effortlessness scientist will arise, green and smiling fiercely. His consort, the green angel wound round his body, performing the chopper and skull ball dance, and the gesture of gazing into space. Ranged outside of those scientists, the infinite angel host arises in order to escort the vow-holding devotee and to punish the breakers of vows. They are the 8 death crown angels, the 4 classes of angels, the 3 holy place angels, the 10 holy place angels, the 24 holy land angels, the heroes, heroines, and the warrior deities, along with all their defenders, the Dharma protectors. All wear the 6 human bone ornaments, carry drums, thigh bone trumpets, skull drums, human skin victory standards, human skin parasols and pendants, singed flesh incense, and play infinite different kinds of music. They fill the entire universe, rocking, dancing, and shaking. All their musical sounds vibrating as if to split your head open and performing various dances. Hey, noble one, spontaneously purifying instincts in reality. The 5-colored wisdom light, stripped like colored threads, woven together, dazzles, shimmers, and shines steadily, clear and brilliant, staringly piercing from the hearts of the 5 scientist lords. It blinds your eyes and penetrates into your heart center. At the same time, the soft green light of the animal realm dawns together with the wisdom light. At that time, under the influence of your instincts, you fear the 5-colored lights and flee from it, enticed by the soft green light of the animal realm. Therefore, don't be afraid of that energetic, piercing, 5-colored light. Don't be terrified. Recognize it as wisdom. Within the light comes the 1,000 rolling thunders of the natural sound of teaching. The sound is fierce, reverberating, rumbling, stirring like fierce mantras of intense sounds. Don't fear it. Don't flee it. Don't be terrified of it. Recognize it as the exercise of your own awareness, of your own intention. Do not be attached to that soft green light of the animal realms. Do
not long for it. If you cling to it, you will fall into the delusion-dominated realm of the animals. You will suffer infinite miseries of stupefaction, dumbness, and slavery without any time of escape. Do not cling to it. Have faith in that penetrating, bright, five-colored light. Aim your will one-pointedly toward the Lord Scientist, Master Deity Host. Aim your will with the thought, the Scientist, Deity Host, with his heroes and angels, has come to escort me to the pure angelic heaven. Oh, you must know how such as me has accumulated no source of merit and wisdom. We have not been taken up by the gift of the light rays of compassion of such five-clan deity hosts of the principal Buddhas of the three times. Alas, such am I now. You, the scientist host, deity host. From now on, do not neglect me, no matter what. Hold me with the tractor beam of your compassion. From now, show me to the clear heaven of the Buddha angels. Thus I will make the following prayer. Hey, may the scientist deity host look upon me. Please lead me on the path of your great love. When I roam the life cycle, driven by strong instincts, may the hero scientist lead me on the path of the clear light of orgasmic wisdom. May the consort angel hold back me on my way. Deliver me from the dangerous straits of the brain. Carry me to perfect Buddhahood. When you make this prayer with intense faith, you will dissolve into rainbow light. At the heart center of the scientist deity host, and without a doubt, will be reborn in the perfect angel heaven realm. Samaya, ya, ya, ya. The dead person has moved into the light. Everything encompasses you is now in light as you are experiencing the magic you have created.
You may also notice that the exterior mirror stay in position when the door is open. This feature allows the occupants to check for oncoming traffic until the last moment before leaving the book.
As you now coming back into this room, you notice that the universe, the magic you have created, is the universe you are sitting in right now. Carry this awareness into your present life today. As you move back into this very room, you also notice that the teacher you are seeing is you. He or she is encompassing throughout all space and time. As you take this one last moment to thank your teacher, showing deep gratitude for the magic that he or she taught to you. As you go through your days, understanding that the teacher and yourself is one, you may notice that all other beings may you also help other beings understand and realize this teacher from around you, on top of you, below you, within you, without you, before and after. Realize that the moment you help them see the teacher, the one, that as you help them with your purest compassion, you help yourself. Amen. Alright, everyone? You can unmute yourself for now. Deanna? Deanna, sweetheart. Anyone? Try to unmute yourself. Laura?
Okay. So yeah, like you just got into my class a little too late.
Yeah, no. I was trying to figure out what if there was any paradigm shift tonight, and I guess there wasn't.
Wait.
And then I saw that you had posted like an hour before, and I wasn't able to make it.
So, all right. So, Deanna, I know that you talked about your shadows a lot. Did you notice anything different right now?
Considering AJ just scared the shit out of me.
How did I scare you?
Because I don't know how to explain it, but Andy, do you know what I'm talking about?
Are you in limbo, right?
I kind of liked it there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I gotcha. My bad.
You really scared me, AJ. Just say your voice just made me jump out of my skin, and I just realized I was here still. I didn't realize I was here.
I feel ya. Sorry about that.
But it's okay. But all right, Deanna. So let's look at your shadow right now. Did you notice anything different? Where's Diana? Is
Dude,
she?
no, I'm still gaining consciousness. I have no idea where she is. And she,
Okay.
wait, no. She was like, "Excuse me, you ignored me just now? Thanks." And she just gave me this really snarky attitude.
Now, that's what I want you guys to try out. It's when you do my meditation, try to do what we call put your shadow self as that dead person, as the one that is rotting in the middle of in the middle of time. Because sometimes, like, the reason why things are the way it is because it is a sign of the fact that one side is way too much, but it's withering away everything else. Use your own power. With your shadow. Let's see what happens. And what else do you guys notice when when you were doing this? Joel, are you still there? It seems like he's a little like what? What about you, Woody? You just got in. You unmute yourself?
Let's see, where am I? I think I'm here. Am I here now? Or am I over there? Yeah,
Hey, what's up, Woody?
Oh, I don't know. I have trouble of understanding Andy's voice on the meditations. The audio comes through rather distorted. But I've just been sort of listening in. My dark side definitely does not wish to communicate, so I haven't said anything about that. It's just wants to stay hidden as much as possible, I guess. Yeah, the audio on the meditations. I don't know if you could put the microphone a little bit further away from your mouth or something.
Yeah, I guess I was a little too loud. I know this was like I didn't know that my voice was a little too loud. But anyway, did you actually make it through? Like when you brought your shadow side into into the meditation, if you say it to it out loud, what did you notice? How did it react to you?
I didn't. I really just sort of listening, trying to figure out what's going on with the way you were discussing the shadow self, and I don't know whether I could ask my shadow self questions. It doesn't have a separate name or anything. So, I've just been trying to figure out exactly what's going on here. That's all.
Quite honest. And hi, Woody. How you been?
Okay, Deanna, I think I still need you, because here's the thing, because I'm about to give you guys about some homeworks to do with some of your, on the perspective of ego. Of course, I lost some of the data that I actually supposed to be doing the homework today, but here's what it basically is in a nutshell. First off, like, to those of you who did do a homework from the last time that you came to my class, that you were told to read a novel or a short story, and the goal is to try to identify yourself with like a character, any particular character in a novel. Like, getting it so far, Woody and AJ? You guys got it?
What's up?
Like, try to identify, try reading a novel where you identify or associate yourself with one of the main characters or one of the characters in the story, and see how your ego and your emotions change as you're looking at yourself through the eyes of that character.
Okay.
And this next homework assignment is just like that. The only difference is now you have a third person, which is you. It's reading the story, and at the same time get to see what the character that you associate with in the story is following along the tale. Now the goal is now I want you to try to first create two characters. One is you as a reader, and two, you as one of the characters in the story. And you guys are going to have a conversation with one another, and you observe how the egos like interact with one another, and see how interesting it can get. Like, what would they say? Like for example, if I were to be a character in the story, and I'm the one who's reading it, what will I say to the character? And notice how the egos start changing and fighting each other or interacting with one another. And you stand back and try to understand what it is.
Like too many different multiple personalities. I think I've got two.
Yes. It's almost like as though you're playing the game of multiple personality disorders. Like one side, you're like, I am the reader. And on the other side, I say, I am the character. And on the third one, I was like, I am the one watching both the character and the reader interacting with one another. So, any questions or that you want to have for me as the person teaching this class?
What would be the purpose behind that, though? Would that?
Well, if you watch through all my shows, we were talking about alchemy, about how the concept of what do you call it? Mental health, about mental disorders. It's not about seeing your traits as a disorder. The goal is to see it as just an alchemical way of, it's a composition. Think of it as a chemical that has went through several changes. And the goal is to see that chemical reaction with one another.
Okay.
And see how does it create that, so that way we can understand, like, okay, from this point of view, what is wellness? What does it mean to be healthy? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the key thing. The purpose of it is to understand if we were to mix things together, then what's the definition of being well, of being a healthy person? And also, how does your ego change as you are the one sitting right here watching two egos fighting over one another? What did you notice?
But you're technically fighting with yourself.
Right, but however, did you notice that you have a better objective perspective on how things work on psychology?
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Okay.
Because
So what you're doing is basically you're just stepping outside of yourself and looking at it with a new pair of eyes. That's all.
yeah, because think about it. If you're, like, for example, if I'm identify myself as the character part of the story. You always have different. You will start feeling like you're in a different mood as someone insulting you, right? As you go through different characters, if they were to do something, you can react. However, when you took yourself out and be the one that is judging the characters as you're reading it, you also create a perspective. You're playing the role of God. Sometimes as different roles, as different stories have different ways of portraying it. And when you took yourself out of the position of the reader and you watch everything as the way it is, you gain a new perspective on psychology. It's very interesting. So, if anyone else have any questions? That was like,
Where did everybody go?
it's okay. They're just silent. It's okay.
I'm still here. I'm just contemplating.
Okay. When you say I was analyzing the purpose of the meditation rather than the actual verse of it, well, guess what? The purpose is what we're going through in this whole class, is to actually help you understand what the Bardo or the Tibetan Book of the Dead that I'm reading here right here, and how your mind works. It's just like alchemy. And if you want to see how it all works, go all the way back to the very beginning of a class and rewatch it and see what did you notice. So since no one has any questions, I would like to thank all of you for coming to this class, and that you guys really put a lot of contribution, and I appreciate that, especially when you put in your shadows. That's very important, because that's what we need in this world, is vulnerability. It's learning from one another. And if you really like my channel and you like to, chat with me or get to see my next upcoming videos, just subscribe to my channel. And if you really like, try to like some of my videos and put some comments on there. And if you like, foster more discussions, because I'll be waiting for you on the other side. Because I will talk to you, and I will upload very good videos for you. So thanks for watching, and I will see you then.